This episode is brought to you by Camilla Najat with Exit Realty Metro.
Camilla Najat is an experienced real estate agent who prides herself in finding the perfect home for her clients. Camilla can help you with a comparative market analysis to help determine the value of your home if you're planning on selling, or help you determine the going rate for the neighborhood you're moving into. She can also work with you at your pace.
You can reach Camilla by calling 902-880-8429 or email camilla@exitmetro.ca.
Also, you can find her on Facebook at Camilla Najat, Exit Realty Metro. This is Matt Conrad.
And this is Mike Tobin.
Welcome to the Afternoon Pint. This week, we speak to Big Ben Dempsey. We talk to him about his recent win on Tough as Nails. We also speak to him about some of his lowest days and how he overcame them and became a literal champion. Enjoy. Good light. There we go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, gents, how you doing? Welcome to the Afternoon Pint.
Hello. All right. This is Matt Conrad. We have Mike Tobin here over here to my left. Mm-hmm. And our guest today is Big Ben Dempsey, as everyone keeps calling him now, which I like it. It's a great nickname. So Ben is the most recent winner and first Canadian winner, the champ, as we saw the belt earlier, of the Tough as Nails reality show, I guess, as you can call it.
Congrats,
so this
man.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So this was season 5, first time they let Canada involved. Tell us a little bit about it, just a little bit those kind of first experience of what it was like, and how did you even know about it? Like, how did you get on?
Yeah, so I mean, I was always a big fan, like, of the show. My mom and dad were big fans, and Dad just reached out to me one day. He said, Phil, he's allowing Canadians to compete, and I said, yeah. He said, yeah, you should give it a go, and I said, yeah, maybe I will. So I mean, that night, as soon as he said it, I applied, and things just kept on going well. Obviously, you got to be really physically fit, but. It was kind of on a whim, and I just went for it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the interview process of it, like, obviously, like, is it one of those things where you have to, like, submit a video or something like that, or, like, do you just submit a resume, or
So basically, it's like it's just like a real light resume, but as you move forward, you got to do it's basically what they call is the brutal truth challenge, and you follow a video, an 8-minute video. To see how many burpees you can do in 8 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And you got to videotape yourself as well. So I'd say once a week that I did that, I was not looking forward to it at all.
So at its essence, just for people that might have not seen the show, Tough as Nails is like a reality show. It's like, what goes on there? What are you competing for? What's everybody competing about? What are they doing?
Yeah, it's basically to advocate the blue collar trades. Both men and women, and you're created with the men and women. You're both created equally, and you're basically there to show your skills and compete on all different levels of the trade. Maybe not just your given trade, but it could be welding, as you've seen, or it could be anything.
Cool. So what's your trade, man?
So I'm a tile setter. I own my own business, but I think a lot of the reasons why the people are on this show is because they have a wide variety of skills and life skills. So, I mean, I was a fisherman for 2 years. I worked on the oil rigs for 7 years.
Whoa.
Okay. I was a tire mechanic. I worked at a pulp mill. So it was, it's one of those things. I think when you put out your resume, they're looking for those type of people that have a wide variety of trade skills and life skills.
Cool. So with all of that, I mean, we can go back to the show in a minute there, but I mean, with all of that, like, what made you get into tiling? What kind of made you decide, like, hey, this is the trade I want to do? Yeah.
So basically, like, I grew up playing, a lot of sports.
Yeah.
And it was always kind of, I never knew what was next. I always played hockey, and that's all I knew. I knew I wanted to get into firefighting. That didn't pan out. And when that didn't pan out, it kind of threw my life for a loop. So that's when I started going out to the oil rigs, like, every East Coaster does, to make a quick buck. And, I was never really happy with myself as far as, like, what am I going to do that's fun in my life? And, eventually I just found something. that I really found like it was my niche. You know what I mean? I was always good with art and stuff, and I have, I have OCD, so it helps in the tile world. And
for real, you have OCD?
Oh yeah. Big time.
So
Yeah.
that helps you with the design.
With the design, the contractors really like it.
High amount of focus that's required to do that job and do it well, eh?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny
That's
too,
cool.
because when you say like that, I mean, I'm just looking at the tiles on the floor here, and like, cause they change over there, and there's probably a whole lot of work that goes into like matching that up and everything. So it's like you kind of definitely would need to be really, really careful. With the tiles, because once you start, if you get halfway across a wall and you realize you're off, like you're off.
Yeah. There's no going back.
Yeah, that's a lot of work kind of thing. So.
Okay, so I'll give you a quick pass if you don't want to answer this.
Yeah.
But like contestants on these shows, man, are they mean? Or are they nice? Or there's like in between? I always wonder, like, are these people conniving? Like my girlfriend watches the Love Island ones, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, these people all seem just so terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when you're first there, you don't really have time to dive deep into their personalities, right? Even if you watch the first episode where me and Paul, the other Canadian, became team captains, you're competing already. So when you go to pick your team, you don't know what these people are like, right? You're only going with your gut.
Right.
And when I went into it, I knew I was like, I don't really want any real alphas on the team. And I didn't pick my team because of that, because I just didn't know, but I just went with my heart. And, every single person on that show is there for a reason. They're all great people. I mean, everyone has their things about them, and everyone has their strengths and everyone has their weaknesses. It's just, I think I got semi-lucky with the team I picked, right? So
speaking of the team that you picked,
Yeah.
because your team was very strong,
strong, yeah.
3 of you people on your team made the finals. So you actually
that's a good pickup. I didn't know too many people notice that. But
So that was the thing, is like what I wanted to kind of talk about there was like, this is okay. I'll quickly kind of give for anyone who doesn't know the show, a quick thing that I liked about the show that was so unique to other reality shows, outside of the fact that it's construction or tradesmen, is that when you get eliminated, or timeout or whatever it is, the clock out, you're not gone. Mm-hmm. So that's what's really cool about the show is like,
what do they do?
You stay on as part of the team.
Right.
You can earn money as part of the team. Then when the team wins money, they split it X amount of ways.
Right.
Cool.
So you can stay on. So people stay on the whole time because they want to continue, obviously, to earn money.
Can they choose to stay on or say no thanks and just
because
take off?
like Matt said, like there's 2 competitions in the series, right?
Okay.
Like you're fighting with your team, and your first team to get 5 badges, your 5 wins essentially, gets that extra $60,000. But every team competition that you're doing, you can win $12,000. So it'd be $2,000 a person, right?
Jeez, that's great.
So you can still win money.
I like
mean,
that. It makes that team element really work,
right?
As opposed to just falling apart and everybody getting upset with each other.
Yeah. And I think like the greatest thing for me is, even when I went into it, it was like, I really want to do well in my team element. And I really want to do well in the individual, because, I like to show that you can work as a team, so you can bring money to your whole team, and and also show that you're very well skilled in the individual world too, right?
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
It's with that is like, obviously you're a team, but there's an individual element. Do you still like? Is the team element still strong, or is there any dissent at all, or anything like that?
Like when one punches out,
or when one punches out, or when you realize like you guys are actually competing against each other as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I felt like too, like, for example, like just when you're like, for example, Yessie, when she was on, she punched out first on her team.
Yeah.
I was like, I had so much grace for her and admiration she was very admirable, because for me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I punched out of the individual, or so like, do I really want to be here with my team to fight for that? You know what I mean? And our team was very well skilled that way and bonded that way, where they were still motivated to keep us strong, right? So I mean, that was very admirable of my team is when they punched out, they still were like, you know what, we're doing this for Dirty Hands, right? So
Awesome. That's cool. That's one kind of thing.
But punching out means like
You're eliminated. Quote unquote.
you're done from the individual.
So they put a little like
they
tradesman
don't
twist.
punch out themselves.
No, they put a
punch
little
them.
tradesman out. Like, they actually take the card and they actually clock out.
Like the old punch cards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. I get it now. Yeah.
So what I thought was kind of cool too, because like you guys traded a little bit back and forth in the first bit of the season, but you guys went on a tear, like
Oh yeah.
in the middle of the
Look at
season.
this. I want to check this
Every
out.
single week, just like boom, boom. It was like win, 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 and that's when I started saying to you, like I was like, I don't know, dude. I think Ben got this. I was like, he
So
was,
Matt
he was
was like
crushing it.
following up with me every week. He's like, I think he's going to win, man.
Oh yeah.
And then he's like, I think he's getting close. And then he's like, he's number 2, man. Like I get texts every
I
week
was looking
about
at
how well you were
the
doing.
money earned, and I was like, he's number 2. And he's been
Imagine
number
being
2
the
for a while.
person that like already knew, and people are like, I think you won.
And like
Yeah.
doing this
Yeah.
podcast,
Like, yeah.
we have a limited amount of time. So Matt took on the TV show while I took on a book.
That's right.
Right. So I was reading. I was like, oh, that's great, man. Glad you're having fun watching TV. I'm here studying. At
least you got to feel it though, right?
But it was all good. Yeah. But no, he was giving me
so
updates.
that's the other thing too, is like you had to wait like a year because it was recorded like last summer, right?
Yeah.
That must be insane.
It was like, but I mean, we're at such a big production, right? Like,
It's CBS,
and
right?
it's
Yeah.
fun too. It's also fun, like when we had that Final Four watch party, like seeing people's reactions, right? Like it was like a true reaction. But yeah, I mean, of course it was hard, right? Because we didn't even know when it was going to air, right?
So how did you watch
Right?
the show in
So
Canada,
it was
Matt?
like
how did you watch the show? Was it on what
I
channel?
just watched it was on Global.
Was it on
Here in
Global?
Canada,
yeah, global.
Cool.
You could stream it right now. You can rewatch it on Paramount.
Oh, it's on
and
Paramount.
Stack TV. As
Oh, I
well.
have Paramount.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So
Awesome.
they're
I
always there.
just recorded it every week and then just
Yeah.
watched it when I could. Like when Aunt Sophie fell asleep, I was just like popping it.
You probably already
nice.
had spoilers though, eh? Like just
No, it was pretty good. Well, sometimes I watched it live, but
Yeah.
sometimes I didn't. Right? So I like there's a part there where I had like 3, and I like couldn't get to all 3 of them. And I had to like binge watch 3 of them at a time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, there were some spoilers, but whatever. Like I don't care. About
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
right? It's like the
Yeah.
finale is what matters. As long as I didn't see like Ben got eliminated,
I
then
know,
I'd be like,
I know, right?
The little I read up about the show, it's like the first time that they came up to Canada to do it. Eh?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly,
and
yeah.
they wanted to do it a few years ago, but COVID kind of messed that up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's true, but like even COVID was still huge. Like,
Yeah.
especially when you're running a big production, like as soon as somebody gets it, right, then it would just ruin the whole thing. So like, you had to be safe that way. But I mean, Phil, especially the host Phil Kogan, right, from Amazing Race, like he's just a real genuine person. Like as you would see him on the show,
Yeah.
like the exact same,
Oh,
man.
cool.
Like he's a super nice guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so okay, back to the not telling anybody. Who did you tell? Who knew?
Nobody, buddy.
Really? No
Yeah,
one knew?
you can't.
Outside of Carly?
You
Like,
didn't
your
tell-
parents
you didn't
didn't
tell
know.
your dad
You didn't
or
tell your
nothing?
dad.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Liabilities, man.
Crazy.
Liabilities.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. That's fair.
yeah.
That's fair. I was just like, because like I was sitting there and I was talking with somebody. Was it my aunt? And she was like, oh, his parents must know. Like,
Yeah.
Carly's parents must know, whatever. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, because they have to sign contracts, NDAs, and all
Yeah.
that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And, you don't want to screw with any of that money and everything, right? So,
It was tough, man. It was tough. It was definitely tough. I
Yeah.
mean, especially when you won, right? Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not so much like if I made it to the final 3 or whatever. Like, yeah, it was tough, but I mean, it was worth it. And now you kind of get to reap that all in.
So, out of when you think back, like you would think that the person. So, in the final 3, what was the gentleman's name who had that struggle with kind of hammering that stuff?
Kenji.
Kenji, right?
Yeah.
Poor guy, man. I
know.
felt that. Like I
Yeah,
felt
he,
that.
he wanted it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so did everyone, but he really,
Yeah.
it hurt him.
Yeah. And I think he was just frustrated because he just like obviously you guys like it came down to the 2 of you and
Yeah.
you were really neck and neck at one point.
Yeah.
Like you had a really good lead.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's walking away with this.
That's what I thought too.
And then he just out of nowhere caught right back up. I was like, holy crap.
Where's Kenji from?
Kenji's from Ohio.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Point Nova Scotia.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But it's
Yeah.
like it's just one of those things where I was like, I felt like that was one of those scenes, and they kept going back to him and everything and showing it. And I was just kind of like, oh man, I feel for that dude. Like I just wanted him to get on. Like as much as I didn't want him to win.
Yeah. I think his struggle was in a previous challenge that he won with the stake driving of the apple orchard. you're driving that into dirt, right? So, I mean,
Right.
the proper way to do it is let the stake driver do the work.
Right.
But in this one, it kind of fooled you, right? Because you're driving a metal rod
Yeah.
into a log,
Yeah.
right? So, you even watch the show, you see everyone like, you got to use your weight into it. I mean,
Yeah. He definitely did a different technique than the other guys did.
and that's just, in a lot of competitions, that's just how things happen, right? That's how the way the cookie crumbles is just, if you might have a bad day or you make a mistake and that could cost you, right? But
Right.
at the end of the day, he made it to the final three, and that's something he should be proud of, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think anyone who even made it on the show, it's
Yeah.
going to be good for their personal business.
100%.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, this is not the first time you had a little bit of spotlight either, because you had HGTV. So talk a little bit about that too.
Sorry, what?
So he was on HGTV. He was featured on HGTV for his tile setting.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I mean, when that happened, that was with Mandy Renahan from Yarmouth.
Cool.
And it was called Trading Up, and basically they called me. They were looking for a tiler, and this is before I even started my tile business. But when I was there, I mean, she supports the blue collar trades. She's
Okay.
great that way with women, right, in the blue collar industry. But yeah, man, like I didn't even have my tile business started, and they actually pushed me to start my business. So being on that show and doing the tile work for them actually expanded my horizon to be like, you know what? I can do this. Like, and they were like, you're really good at it. You can do this. And I always wanted to push the limits of, the tile world and not just come in and just lay, a commercial floor. I wanted to like really zone in on high quality tile
Cool.
work.
So,
right?
so you have a business now, right?
So
Yeah, I
you
do,
should
yeah.
plug your business.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
time
yeah.
to plug your business.
Yeah, no, it's so my business is called Breakwater Tiling.
Love the name.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, I get the name.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
So,
Okay, fill people in on the name. Where's it come from?
So basically, Herring Cove, small community where I'm from, they have a breakwater right off the heads, and it's just a big thing with Herring Cove. Everyone knows what the breakwater is, and
It's very important to the survival of the cove.
Yeah,
Very
I guess
important.
so. Yeah, that's actually it's a
Cool.
good way to put it.
Yeah.
Cool.
You're spot on there.
No, that's awesome. So
I'm
yeah.
very important to the survival of the tile industry.
That's right. You go.
Exactly. Yeah.
And your phone's probably blowing up now with business, eh?
I mean, for sure, but like I was doing very well before this show.
Nice.
I mean, I had my contractors, that use me and designers know my work. I mean, it was nervous getting into it because there's a difference from a tile installer that comes in and just wants to kind of get the job done, right? But
Yeah.
then there's other stuff where you go into $1 million homes and everything has to be perfect, right?
Now, do you do this now, or have you considered, do you do social media where you kind of show some, expert tiling designs that you've done and stuff?
Oh, yeah,
That people
like,
can see it on TikTok and all that?
Yeah, so basically I do a lot of my stuff. My platform is, there's a little bit on Facebook, but I mainly use Instagram.
Okay.
So all my stuff on Instagram,
Cool.
Breakwater Tiling,
Breakwater tiling?
is
Cool.
is on
The,
there.
the podcast follows it.
Oh, do it?
Yeah.
And,
Afternoon
I follow
pipe.
the podcast.
Exactly. There's a little bit of mutual love there. Yeah. So I guess a little bit there is kind of what I love about this is, and this is where we can kind of get a little bit personal, a little bit. But we have your championship belt, so you're literally a champion. But we are kind of sitting here having some non-alcoholic beers today. Why don't you talk a little bit about where you were a few years ago and some of the struggles that you've had, and kind of going from maybe a low to this extreme high.
Yeah. So, as a lot of people know, it wasn't really portrayed on the show, but it talked about my struggle with addiction. I'm 4 years sober. Basically, where it all kind of started from was, I would say, everyone kind of parties in their younger years, right? Before, in their 20s or whatever, which was fine. But then you start experimenting with other things and stuff. But I would say it really became a problem when I went out west. I definitely gained a good work ethic for being out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hard workers out there, but there also too is a lot of other things that happen out there.
Sure. I've been out west too. I've experienced it
Yeah.
firsthand. I've seen friends go
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
just-
down terrible roads.
Yeah, you
and-
spent some time out west.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, I mean, there is a lot of people that go out there and they make a good dime and they're smart about it, and that's fine. There's nothing to take away from that industry, right? It's a great industry, but when you work 21 days on, 3 days off, you know,
No
in a
life.
constant no life,
No family, isolated.
isolated, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to accept where you are in your life. You know, where am I going to go after this? I'm stuck.
What's the point of all this?
Yeah, right.
yeah,
And
get
then
it.
you know, luckily I didn't buy a big truck or buy a big home. Where some people actually are just semi stuck out there because they have to
Right.
make that money, right? So that's where it's not so much a depression, but in a way it kind of is, right?
Yeah, I
You know,
think totally is part of it. A big part I came home was homesick. I mean, I really miss my
Yeah,
family and
right.
friends and the environment. Nova Scotia's a beautiful place to live.
I know it is,
Right.
And a lot of people come back, right? Most of them come back.
Most of them come back.
Yeah.
I went out with 6 guys, and 5 of them, I think 4 or 5 of them are back.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That just goes to
All
show.
of them except one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like for me, it stemmed from just trying to find my own identity with myself, right? So I was trying to mask that with other things, trying to numb every day I was out there, not happy with myself. And, you know, eventually I did make the move to come home.
Now, was it mostly just alcohol?
It was alcohol, but it was other things. right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other thing particularly.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm embarrassed to say that, but the
No, it's
same
okay.
same stuff that comes with, you know, when you're at West, everyone knows what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it just was getting worse and worse. So I came home. I had a great support system through my parents. You know, and at the time, people don't suspect that. You kind of hide all that in, right? So when it comes out, it's at the start you struggle to explain how you're feeling. But I mean, they were very supportive. I had a great support system.
Well, you come from a really great family.
That's
I
what
know
I
your
mean.
family
Yeah,
really well.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. And I mean, the hard thing about it was like, you know, I always did well in my life, and then it was like, what happened now, right? And it's not
Sure.
like my life was spiraling down. It's just I couldn't figure out where I was going with my life, and if I kept on going at this route, like there was nothing good that was going to come out of it. So then I went fishing, and that wasn't great either. So I mean.
Well, what was terrible about the fish?
I just the same sort of thing. Like I was with a great fisherman, Gussie Rhino. He's from Sambro.
Okay,
Great
cool.
family, would take me in, help me with the same thing. They knew I was going through issues,
Yeah.
but same sort of lifestyle. You're constantly gone.
Isolated again.
You have to love it, right? To go fishing all the time. And I was just like, is this what I'm doing for the rest of my life now? I stopped
Yeah.
at the old rigs, and now I'm fishing. I couldn't find what I wanted to do, and everyone says, you know. Well, try to figure out what you would like to do in life. And I mean, when you're almost in your 30s or your late 20s, you're thinking like, man, like it's so hard to start over.
Starts to
here.
get scary.
Yeah, it starts to get scary.
Yeah.
So no, I just I stopped fishing. I worked for this guy in a renovation company, and then I just started really loving tile.
You saw a tile floor, you just went effing crazy.
Like,
You
it was just like
yeah,
the-
tiles, they're cool.
It was soothing for me.
That's
It was,
awesome.
It was
man.
therapeutic.
Seriously,
right?
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what though? That,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense because like what are those the coloring things that was really big for therapy for a little while? I can't remember.
Oh, I know what you're talking
Yeah, I
about.
can't
Those
remember.
little
I know what you're talking about.
intricate coloring
Yeah.
puzzle
Yeah, yeah.
But it would
books
kind
or
of be like
paint-
that, right? Except you're using your hands and crafting and stuff like that. But it's that therapeutic, like where you get to go in and do a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Concentrate and make a design or piece of
Yeah.
art.
So I don't know. Like, and then it was like the whole hustle side of things. Like,
Yeah.
you know, for a while there, I lost a lot of trust in people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I would slip up, and then I would go on a stint again where I wouldn't have a drink or get into other things, and then I would slip up again. So you were constantly losing trust, and I kept on, like, in my heart, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get through this. And at the end of the day, I will always say, if someone's struggling with addiction, only you can help yourself. You can have
Fair
a
enough.
great support system, and you can go to those AA meetings, and you can have all that support around you because it is there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you don't want it enough, then no one else is going to fix that for you, right?
And, you're fortunate to get
Yeah.
out early and get out young enough that you still going to have so much of your life to live, man.
Absolutely.
And you're going to have so much of your life to just kind of grow and learn and teach
Yeah.
and be an influencer and just finding something you dialed into.
Yeah, I
And
know.
what I love about it, too, it's tile setting, right?
Yeah.
People aren't going to say tile setter.
I
Like,
know.
it's just kind of like, insurance.
We
and
work
it's
in
not,
insurance, yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like, you're 8 years old and you tell your mom and dad, I'm going to be an insurance guy.
The only
Right.
person who says that is someone whose like dad owns an insurance company. That's it.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I totally
Yeah.
respect it. I totally dig you found your groove, man. And it's so cool. Like,
Yeah, and I don't know where it came from, man. To be honest, like it just happened, and I mean, just trust the process in your life. If anyone's having,
well, you were looking, right? So
Yeah.
credit yourself, man.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
it sounds
Yeah.
like you had a heart and you said, hey, look, I'm just out here. I feel lost. I don't know what the F's going on.
Yeah.
You dialed back the leisure activities, we'll say.
Yeah.
And you found something that really meant something to you, and it transformed your life. And now you've got a big championship WWE
Yeah,
style
seriously,
belt
yeah.
that you can
It
carry
weighs
around.
the same as my child
Yeah,
weighs.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
The
it's
belt's
so
huge.
Yeah.
But you know what though? This is what I think. This is a big reason why I do why I like doing these podcasts is like hearing these stories, because first of all, there's so many things that we can take away from that. Is like obviously one, it's never too late.
No.
It's never too late.
Yeah.
If you're 59 and you're like, hey, I never really found my footing and happiness in life, whatever.
Right.
Do it.
Exactly.
Go and do it.
100%. Just
Find
go for
something.
it. Yeah.
Right. And then on top of that, it's like, you can be in these low moments in your life, and with the will,
Yeah.
if you have made up your mind, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
And you can
So-
literally go from that to having a championship belt, which I'm very envious about.
and-
As growing up a
and
wrestling
people
fan,
listening to
I
it.
always wanted one of those.
Day one, when you started laying them tiles down, that was a real shit job. It had to be. It had to be tough at first.
I mean,
Learning it, yeah.
Or did you
learning
work
it-
with it right off the cuff? You
Yeah.
probably had to work on it a bit to get it down.
To get it perfected, I still do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I would hate it if I knew everything I was going to do. But I mean, that was the process, is the challenge of like every time you go into a shower, it's something different. Right? It's
And
a
it wouldn't.
different
I couldn't
design.
see it being easy at first. I just think
No.
it's a nightmare when I look at it. Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
But
Yeah.
YouTube helps a lot of people,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like I dialed in that YouTube and just
I think I was like a whole weekend doing Gracie's floor with laminate. Right, the
Yeah.
first time I'm like, oh, this looks easy, and then
I've laid laminate.
Yeah.
I've laid laminate. I've even installed a door. It's not. You wouldn't want to pay me to install your door, but
Yeah.
it's good enough. It does the job. But I can tell you right now, like tile, especially like when I look at the floor and how small those
grout,
tiles are,
man,
and
grout's tough.
all that stuff. It is not a. It is.
Is this even tile or is this like peel on stuff?
No, this is tile.
Oh, right on, cool.
Yeah,
That's
see,
why
there
we
you
call
go,
out
yeah.
the floors here at Serpent Brewing.
We are
Yeah.
calling the floors
Just for fun. Yeah.
But you know what? We're getting officially approved kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Could you rate this tile like Gordon Ramsay would? Like, would you give it a high rating or a low rating? Would it be
I mean, it's intricate for sure. I mean, any
Intricate?
mosaic,
Nice.
For sure, but
You're
that
not.
stage there would have a better corner on it. But
There you go. Yeah.
there we go. I like
Picking it apart. Whatever.
Let's pick
yeah,
it
I do
apart.
that everywhere. I go over to my parents. I was like, "Yeah, Dad, like
Yeah, that's awesome.
what were you doing back in the day?"
So okay, so one question I have is like obviously the winnings. So like you could win a little bit every time, divide it all up. The grand prize was $200,000 and a truck.
U.S. Yeah,
Yeah, U.S. and a truck. Is
And
that
a
what it was?
truck.
Yeah.
And a truck. Wow.
But
So that's what you're
but
picking up this week?
But yeah, I'm
Awesome.
picking that up.
Beautiful. That must be extremely exciting.
It is literally my very first brand new vehicle.
Okay,
Like,
let's plug the truck. What kind of truck is it?
So it's a Ford F-250
250,
Lariat
nice.
Super Duty.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's not a
that
cheap
is-
truck.
that's a truck.
And I went diesel. I know there was electric. You know?
Yeah.
I went diesel.
Oh, did you have the option to go in electric or diesel?
I mean, like, it's basically like, it's keeping it through Ford. Like all the
Yeah.
seasons before, they had Super Duties.
Nice.
For my industry in the tile work, I felt like I think that Ford Lightning's a beautiful truck.
Sure.
But just a little bit too like technology for me to be like,
Oh.
okay, where is electric pump station at?
Yeah,
That when I-
what?
I mean?
it's still a challenge in Nova Scotia.
Yeah,
for pumping
that's
stations,
what
like
I mean.
electric
Yeah,
stations
yeah,
for
that's
the
a good-
trades.
that's a good
people?
point.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's not even just that. Like if he was just using it for leisure,
Yeah.
that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if someone
Right.
pays him to go out in the middle of like Wentworth to do a job or something like
Yeah, I
that.
don't want to be driving that down there.
Right,
Right.
You-
Yeah.
That's the thing is like it's not quite as available to have electric cars.
I don't think they understood that, right? It's
Yeah.
just like, but I mean,
Well, even where we all live, like I don't live too far. I mean, I'm in the Sambro Loop, we'll say too, right? Like,
Yeah.
and good luck finding
but
an EV
I
where
did
we live.
look at it, man. It's a beautiful looking truck. It really
Yeah,
is.
no, they are cool.
So okay,
Yeah.
so $200 US. So it's a
200,000.
$200,000 US. So you had to win that. Or when you win that, I'm guessing you have to pay US taxes then. No, or you don't.
They don't.
No way.
Because how it works is they filmed it in Canada, and in
Yes.
Canada it's considered lottery winnings, right? Which
Exactly.
which is free.
It's the only for the record,
Yeah,
only tax system that is better than the US.
yeah.
Because
As
you
a
don't
lottery.
you don't pay taxes on Canadian lottery winnings.
Now they could have federally taxed us if, say, for example, we were filmed in the States.
That's right.
Then they would federally tax us. But where it was filmed in Canada, the word that I got is that no, it's not. Wow. And that was coming from the CRA themselves.
So you actually
You have that in writing.
Yeah.
Very good.
what's fantastic, but what's fantastic with that is that you had a huge leg up on, I would assume, the American people who were competing, because I would assume that their government probably would have taxed them.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't even that. It was this season was nice because every individual challenge, if you came first in those individual challenges every time they had them,
Right.
you kept on upping the ante where you could win 2,000.
Right.
And so I think this season I had the most individual wins as well as
Oh yeah,
winning
you
the
did.
thing.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was keeping track of it a little bit, but it says here like total earned money at the end was $240.
Yeah.
So 40,000, I guess,
Yeah.
is what if you subtract it. The next person was, I believe, actually was Kenji at 33.
Yeah. He won quite a bit of individual
Yeah,
challenges as well.
well, actually, all three. So the top three people were the top three.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Top
that's
three
when he
earners,
picked a
yeah.
stacked team.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah.
And it's, but I mean, another thing though, like you got to say is like, just because people either punched out first or not, like, man, like they had other stuff to get. It just wasn't their time, I guess you would say. Like it just didn't, the cards didn't play right for them. For example, Yessie, like she went out very
Right.
soon, but she is a beast, man. Like
So-
really big competitor.
I'm wondering if it was her. I'd have to go back and take a look and everything. But like, there was someone who like was like ninth, and she's like, I think it was a she, so it might have been her, but she took home like 20 grand, and that's like she punched out early on.
Oh yeah, it's probably Yessie because we
So it
won.
might be
that.
her,
Yeah. We
so
won.
she punched out early and still walked away with more than someone who punched out fifth.
Our whole team all at least took a minimum of 20
There you go.
grand home because we won that
Yeah.
the final
The
team
final
thing.
Team,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's the thing.
That's
So
great.
lots of people who, this is another incentive to stay in, because people who got out early had a chance to stay in there. And
Yeah.
stick
I love
and
that
stick.
concept, right?
It's a fantastic
Yeah.
concept.
It makes it like, it's weird, man, because like it's such a huge thing. Like it's more than just, okay, people are on there, they're competing for money, that's exciting,
Yeah.
whatever. But it's like it's really showing the world that like you can, like, men or
Yeah.
women can do anything in the trade industry, right? Like
Yeah.
it's and
Which
it's
is
a
desperately
problem.
needed.
That's what I mean. It's a desperately needed thing in the world, and it's just, I feel like the show should be a lot bigger than what it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a fun show, and then when people do realize that they knew me or they knew the Canadians on the show this year, I feel like Canada really took to it and was like, oh my gosh, this show's great. Like,
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah,
Support it. It sounds
right?
great, man.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the thing. I didn't know anything about it until it was announced that you were on it.
yeah, right.
And I was like, but I actually enjoyed it. I'm not a quote unquote reality
Yeah.
TV guy.
Yeah.
There's I have a couple of guilty pleasures. But,
Yeah,
outside of that, but I really enjoyed this. But I think I like cooking reality shows.
Yeah.
And this is kind of within that concept. It's a craft.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
just like people backstabbing each other and things like that.
No.
It is people who are skilled at something that are judged on that skill.
Right.
And it's just a competition,
No,
which I really like.
it's pretty real, right? Like
Yeah.
it's there's not much editing, like as far as what I know,
Yeah.
it's
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: what's
Yeah.
next now? After all this, just going to chill for a minute and kind of enjoy it, or you plan to expand the business, or what are you going to do?
I mean, the business is the main stress I have is just while this was all going on, it's like, okay, well, I have clients booked here, and I just, I need a week off just to take all this in, which they were very understanding. But it's no, just keep on doing my thing, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully there was talk of an all-star season.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
so maybe that'll be in the works down the line. I don't know. It's not my call, but anything. the sky's the limit, right? So
Yeah,
it really is.
We'll make sure that we do a couple things here. We're going to put your business just in their episode description here for this show.
Yeah.
And also, I'll figure out if I can get a link to the Paramount show for people that have the Paramount TV streaming app, so they can actually just watch it. And I'll encourage them to watch it before we talk to you, so they'll get a little bit more of this conversation, the nuggets you and Matt were talking about, right? So they can get the most out of this one, man.
Yeah.
But I got to say thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, thank you. It was
this was awesome.
It was a pleasure, man. It's a big thing for Halifax, Canada, Nova Scotia, and
100%.
Herring Cove.
It is, yeah. And honestly, again,
Represent.
just one of those things where I think it's a great story to tell and to tell people and get that out. So it's So
all right.
Appreciate it.
Let's close on one more cheers,
Yeah,
gentlemen.
one more
And
cheers.
there we go.
Cheers.
All right.
All right, guys.
Very best.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Afternoon Pint. If you have an idea for the show or would like to be a part of it, email us at afternoonpint@gmail.com.